Welcome, everybody, and thank you for the invitation. Well, the presentation of Manuel shows that we have here four persons that have distinct profiles, and three of them they lead. I mean, Janet, Susana, and Demetrio. They lead with the city and urban planning in the city now in relation to the metropolitan area, and Filipa Serpa, who is vice president of the National Institute of Housing and Urban Renewal, leads with other different issue, which is the housing national policies. So we are talking about different scales of intervention and, in a certain way, different sectors of activity. Facing these different profiles of our guests, I would begin by asking by leaving a little bit Filipa for another question, because in fact these are different things. So I would ask before to Janet and Susana and Demetrio, which represent different cities, as you understand. So Barcelona, Bilbao, and Milan. Which, if they could talk a bit about the projects and plans that their cities implemented during the last years, the last decade, in order to strengthening sustainability. I don't know if Susana can begin with.
We want me definitely. Thank you for having invited us to this Congress. My name is Susana Ruiz. I am an architect and I am the head of the Council and Office on Bilbao. And I work for the council. I want to try to explain you that Bilbao has awarded several prizes in the last 20, 30 years for the transformation of the city. But we were not thinking about sustainability, although this is not very politically correct. We were thinking about how to survive, okay? Because Bilbao is the central territory of a metropolitan area of 1 million inhabitants. And it was an industrial city in the 20th century. And in the 80s of the 20th century, with the international crisis, a lot of factories crashed and closed. So the unemployment rate reached 30% in the metropolitan area. And we suffered the worst floods in the city in 1983. So the central part of the city and some other neighborhoods in the hills were completely destroyed. So we thought about what to do to create employment and to create new jobs. So for us, the change was not electricity. It was not an option. It was an electricity. And we needed to change the city from an industrial one to another city based on services. So abandoned and degraded fields that were previously occupied by this industry along the river in the center of the city were planned to be reused. And we did not occupy any greenfield, new field for the development of the city. So, as a result of this, our transformation has been sustainable, environmentally sustainable, but we were not thinking about environment, but about economy. And the innovation, in this case, was an agreement with different public institutions that have responsibilities for the railways or for the port areas or for the uses of the land, for the town plan, in this case, the Bilbao City Council. And how did we do? Well, a public society was created. The name is Bilbao Ría 2000. It was created in 1992 with the intention of recovering these industrial areas and this space around the city. And is the product of the cooperation between all public authorities. This is very important because it's owned in equal part by the Central State Administration, 50%, and the Basque administrations, the Basque government, the regional government of Biscay, the provincial government, and the municipality of Bilbao. And this society executes projects in relation to town planning, the environment, and transportation. And these plans, these projects are based on the urban plans that the planning authority designed. In this case, we. Okay. So the most important thing of this society is the financing. So that's why I am talking to you. I am speaking about economical sustainability. The company shareholders of this society, which are all public, transfer the land belonging to them in central areas of the city to the company. And this company invests in public works on the land, decontamination, public works, etc. And it's a non-profit making entity. So all the benefit gained by the selling of these houses and the buildings built in these restored fields, all the money has been used to finance more works related to public works in these areas or in other areas of the city. For example, the elimination of railways on surface in other parts of the city to connect some neighborhoods. So as a result of this, the municipality has zero debt during the transformation. So this is our concept of sustainability in the 90s, okay? That's what we did. And the success, I think, is that all administrations have agreed to aim at the same objective, because I think public-public collaboration is more difficult than public-private collaboration, because public-public sometimes depends on the political rivalries or overlapping responsibilities, and it's very difficult.
Thank you. Susana, that talks more about the institutional frame and financial frame, and I would get again on this issue. Anyway, I'll pass to Janet so that she could talk a little bit about the projects that are very talked about the manzana, the
super block,
the super block. Yes. Well, you talk about the project that you want during the time you were in Barcelona. Which was, when did you begin your...
2015.
Okay, since 2015 to this year,
yeah.
Until this year. So
yeah. Yes, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here to share with you our work in Barcelona the last 8 years, because we try to implement it, a very big transformation, no? And I want to explain you something, because in Barcelona, in the last 8 years, we have defended the architecture and urban planning must be put at the service of life and build a livable city, no? I think this is very important because to do this, I think it's very important redefine, for example, the concept of sustainability, no? Because I think no, the sustainability can be very important because the risk of this concept is that it is overused, no? And when this happens, make the concept redundant, no? And I think so. Sustainability is not it's not a technical issue, but a political one, no? And I think so. If we think, no, for me, for example, sustainability is that which ensures the needs of the present without compromising those of the future, no? And this is change everything. If we think this, change everything. Urban planning, architecture, everything change. And for this reason, in Barcelona, the most important policies or programs that we are implemented are two, and both respond to the same strategy: urban regeneration in whole city, to adapt Barcelona to the 21st century. And to do this, we need transform, for one hand, houses, and for the other hand, streets. First of all, to adapt houses of jumbled neighborhoods, I think is very important, this, to have better insulated houses. It's a priority, no? With green energy and with lifts, something like something basic like lifts and balconies, because some neighborhoods in Barcelona don't have these things. And we started in 6 neighborhoods with 51 million of public investment. This is for houses. And I want to explain more of the transformation in public space, because in Barcelona, like a Mediterranean city, no, I think we believe and defend that the public space is an extension of our homes, our houses. The public space is home, is our home. And for this, to adapt the streets, we developed Superblocks program, Superilla Barcelona. Maybe you know something about it. To understand this program, there are some data that I would like to share with you, because I think so it's important to context, to put some context. First of all is the excessive dependence on fossil fuels, determining that the main way of getting around in Barcelona is by car, no? Historically, the complicity of institutions has facilitated this, and between 60 and 80% of public space is designated to cars, to pass through, or park. This is the situation. Was the situation. And secondly, the lack investment in public transport, especially in the region of Barcelona. No? Everyone who enters and exits Barcelona every day doesn't have a good alternative, because the train network has daily problems. And that's why 1 million cars enter and leave every day, Barcelona every day, of which 350,000 cars cross the city center every day. And this was a very big problem for us, because the consequence of all of this is that we exceed all pollution levels. And the European Air Quality, for example, directive, is violated. And this is a problem for us, no? Schools are surrounded by cars, and scientists' reports show us that we have 1,500 premature deaths per year due to pollution. Or, for example, we have children with cognitive problems, or we have 7,000 to 8,000 accidents per year. Or, for example, we have streets for cars without lives, with less commercial activity. All of these are problems for us. And for this, the Superblock programs is the biggest strategy to regenerate aims to return to the streets, their main purpose, for people to enjoy them, for the city to be healthy and sustainable for the present and for the future. And this model transformed Barcelona to have 1 out of 3 streets into a green streets. for pedestrians and bicycles. And the other 2 out of 3 streets are to sustainable mobility. Public transport is prioritized in these streets. No? Also, we transformed 5 highways inside the city. And we can see when you have less car lanes, you have more space for pedestrians, for bikes, for public transport, for greenery, for example. And we are also prioritizing kids in urban planning, because we think that if the city is safe for kids, it's safe for everyone. And this is, for us, is very important too, And we have created another program inside the Superblocks program that the name is Let's Protect the Schools. And this program aims to pedestrianize the surrounding of 200 schools by 2023 to make these spaces as safe, non-polluted, and playful as possible. And we are already done. And I think it's very important to explain more of this than maybe in the debate. But also, it's really important for us to give special attention to the historically silenced groups, as women, kids, elderly people, disabled people. This means that we do particular sessions with these groups of people when developing every project, with, for example, exploratory walks. And the result was amazing, and this is the part of the concretely policies of Superblock program. Thank you.
Demetrio is an architect, I think, and is director of urban planning and public space at the city Milan's Agency for Mobility, Environment and Territory. And I think the intervention of Milan, the projects have some similarities with, or no? Yes, they have some similarities.
But that's fine.
But
I'm kidding.
But for with a biggest focus on tactic urbanism.
Yeah.
Well, you can explain the specificity of the interventions in Milan.
I'll take it from a wide perspective, because if we talk about sustainability, the first thing that comes to my mind is what is not sustainable nowadays. It's clearly we're talking about ambiguous words, right? I'll give you an example. In Milan, there was a development that recently realized, but an old plan that was on a green field, was on a green area, okay? And they built very sustainable buildings. What they say is that the buildings are very sustainable, and they got a prize. And now they're sold like the most sustainable project in the city. But that project is not sustainable at all, because it was conceived on an area that was generating ecosystem services that are not generating anymore. So maybe we should just change the way we speak about things, because that word is abused. We sold it too much. We sell everything as sustainable, and even what sustainable is not. Probably we should focus more on what has a positive impact on the planet, a positive impact on our lives, on positive impact on our cities and future generations. And probably we should focus and change our vocabulary to focus on the positive impact of change. Why change? Why we need to change? Because we are living a series of crises. We are living in an area, we call it Anthropocene, where basically the impact that we have as human beings on the planet is not reversible anymore for the planet. It's just like a small responsibility that we have when we work on the built environment. We live in an urban area where clearly cities are both the issue and the solutions. Cities are the most polluted areas. Cities is where most of the pollution is generated. Cities is the reason why is where everyone wants to live, but at the same time, the most sustainable way to live our lives. So we have to focus on cities in order to face most of the challenges that we are living nowadays. We come just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it seems like another era of our lives, but we had a very relevant pandemic They changed completely our lives from one day to another one, and generated an illusion about the possibility of a new normality that we forgot almost immediately when we came back to our normal lives, that sometimes they were not that normal. No? Well, when we were thinking at that time about spending our lives in a car, commuting from a place to another one, maybe that was not normal, but we are doing it again. We live a climate crisis. We live a crisis where in a city like Milan, in the summer, heat waves are every day. Where in one night, in 15 minutes, we lost 5,000 trees because of phenomenon that we are not used to. Our territory is not used to. Because of wind, because of hard wind, because of storms. We live in a polluted city. Milan is one of the most polluted cities in Europe, and the pollution of the city is not a factor able to change completely the approach as we should do. We live a housing crisis now, which is probably the next big thing, or probably is already a big thing. And we realize that all European cities and not all European cities are not accessible for everyone anymore. We are generating diversity, we are losing equity, we are losing inclusion. So change is needed, but change has to have a positive impact, otherwise it's better not to change things, probably. Don't tell anyone because this is a secret, but change as a formula. Change needs dissatisfaction, and the crisis that I was telling you before are part of the dissatisfaction, but dissatisfaction is not enough in order to generate change. We need visions, but vision, again, alone is not enough. We need also first steps in order to overcome resistances to change, which is our big enemy, especially for the one trying to work on changing the status quo. In terms of visions in Milan, we are working on updating a new master plan. And the master plans and all the visions that we are setting up are basically trying to change paradigms. We are shifting our mindset from consuming to reusing. This is a matter of land, of soil. We don't want to consume soil anymore, but also in terms of materials and resources, we have to go towards a circular economy approach, especially when we talk about urban regeneration. We're trying to change color of the city. We're trying to shift from gray to green, which is not just a matter of colors, of course. Green is for sure nicer than gray, but it's because of the climate crisis I was telling you before. We have to renature the city. We have to plant new trees. We have to depave asphalt. We are trying to shifting the idea from a city made of a center and suburbs to an idea of a city made of neighborhoods. Because neighborhoods are the core. Because neighborhoods is the right scale for our human life. And it's the scale that we have to try to follow as much as possible in order to avoid those huge mistakes or generating an infinite city where we commute all day long, all lives long. It's for our healthy and for the beauty of our lives. And then we are trying to make the most important probably, or mostly people don't know, change, which is from cars to people. We come from a century where everything was planned for cars. In our city, everything was planned and designed for cars. So we have another century now to shift that approach. And all the urban regeneration and the vision that we are setting now says that all the urban regeneration projects that will follow in the future has to generate a positive impact on the city. Otherwise, please go somewhere else. This sounds like easy to say, but it's not that easy to do because developers are not always that interested on the topic, and the economy related to the developments, of course, generates a struggle between what is most important. But so we set up a series of regeneration projects together with C40 based on the so-called program Reinventing Cities, where the idea is that if you want to develop something in the city of Milan, you have to address 10 challenges, 10 environmental challenges, environmental and social challenges, because you have to consider the fact that we are living in an era of change and living an era where we have to face those challenges related to the environmental topics, related to the social topics, to inclusion, etc. But all this change will come in the next decade. don't believe to people that just do plans, because when they do plans, basically they tell you that, okay, I write you what you have to say, what you have to do, but the next generation will do it. Please trust people and try to act now, tomorrow, because the change, in order to get to the 2050 goal, we have to start tomorrow. Actually, we have to start yesterday. Please try to realize first steps. First steps is the key, is the solution. And that's why we generated a tactical urbanism program. Because we want to change the city from a car center to a people center, from a gray to a green one, etc. But we cannot do it like that. We're no magicians, and we don't have enough money. We don't have enough resources. We pollute a lot in order to do it without being sure about what we are doing. And we cannot generate frustration in people that believes in change. So we have to start tomorrow. And we generated a tactical urbanism program because we come from a country of bureaucracy. And to change a sidewalk, you can invest 5 years of your life in order to get all the approvals and all the funds and everything done properly. And when you realize those projects after 5 years, what happens every time is that project is old, because the changes that we are living and the crises that we are living are faster than us. So tactical urbanism is a key instrument in order to change things rapidly, with light investment, with being quick and being cheap, and with people. Our specificity is the fact that we involve people in the tactical urbanism programs in order to make them believe that change is not only possible but positive. What is better than having people on your back pushing for the positive change you're trying to make? It's basically much easier. We started the Piazza Aperte program that I'm referring to, the Open Plaza program, as a top-down program. After we did the first pilot, 2018, 2019, we realized that maybe we could ask people how to do it together with us. And when they started doing it together with us, when we started responding to people requests, to people needs for change, it was just like downhill. We just had to drive, which is not my favorite, to be honest. We just have to define the path, define the street in order to make them change in themselves the city. We have to facilitate change. I think the role of cities, of institutions, is to facilitate those citizens that want to have a positive impact on the city, to help them. And just to conclude my intervention, there is a lot of those people. We just have to look for them, because there is a lot of people that wants to bring change in the city and to bring a positive impact. And the key is kids, future generations. Because when you change something for future generations, you are teaching them what the future should be. And they will do the same in the future, and they will do even better in the future. And that's our problem. I am incredibly angry with the previous generation because of the legacy that they left us. We have to change this paradigm. We have to focus on kids and future generation. We have to start from schools. And that's why in our process of tactical urbanism, together with the Piazza Aperte program, we started with some top-down neighborhood plaza, and we ended up with a bottom-up program to pedestrianize spaces in front of schools. 250, 50 more. See, because that is the key. Those are the center of our cities for having positive impact and positive change.
Thank you, Demetrio. Now I'll ask you, and then we'll go again to tactical urbanism, which, well, anyway, let's go to Filipa, which is a quite different issue, because she leads with the housing problem and housing national policies. In a very difficult context, then we can talk about the context after, but it's a political changing context. But anyway, the Portuguese government developed a trajectory of investment in housing that began with the appearance of the Secretary of State and then the Ministry, etc., and several packages. And finally, in this year, the big package that of housing, which is Mais Habitação, More Housing, that mixes several lots of different measures. I would like to know if this idea of sustainability cross all the package, or if you have some specific measures that are specifically directed to the strengthening of sustainability.
Really a different scale that we are talking about. So we're not talking about a city project, we're talking about a national policy. So, and that's a big difference. And as Sandra said, we had in 2018 a new generation for housing policy, which defined a goal that we are working on, which is having much more public housing construction, because Portugal has only 2% of the housing stock is public. So, and we have this crisis that is connected with the prices of housing, whether it is for buying or rental. So we have this, that it's global, but so Lisbon, it's not different. Lisbon and Portugal, for all of the countries. So we have this goal of going up to 5% of public housing stock in order to regulate the market somehow. And along with this new generation of housing policy, there has been several policy going on and programs. And we have the latest package of programs for housing, which are the Mais Habitação, More Housing, which are more programs that respond to contextual necessities, and the new generation, it's more a structural program. So we have two types of approaches to the housing issue. But then we also have the Recovery and Resilience Plan that we have in Portugal that gave special attention to the housing issue, with a great investment on this. And so most in the institute, so in the National Institute for Housing and Urban Rehabilitation, we have this special focus on housing now with the Recovery and Resilience Plan. And besides that, we also have the policies that we had before and that will continue. But how do we connect this with the issue of sustainability? As Demetrio was saying, it is all connected. It's everywhere. So in housing, for sure, it's one of the basic conditions for a sustainable city, being the sustainability of social sustainability, environmental, has for the impact of construction and the use of the buildings, or the economic sustainability. So the three pillars of general known as the three pillars of sustainability have on housing an instrument or of global sustainability for the city. So implementing how to implement this notion of this sustainability. We have measures that are very much directed to the environmental issue, as in all the new construction or the refurbishment that it's being done in the context of this Recovery and Resilience Plan, or in our own public housing stock, because the Institute for Housing has close to 14,000 units of houses, so all over the country. So we have some stock of housing that needs to be refurbished. So all the measures in the construction area, because housing, it's also, or mostly about construction of buildings and construction of habitat. So, and this has really an impact that, as we all know, being in the moment of the construction, but also in the life cycle of the buildings and the global habitat, and also including the notion of where to localize, where to put these public housing construction, and the links that we can promote and have to promote with the mobility to the city and to the services everywhere, so that to change also the stigma that we still have in Portugal of what is social housing or public housing, being more now changing our minds to another approach to this affordable housing, so the housing that everyone can pay. So it's so this sustainability, it's everywhere on the housing project. It's since the construction to its location in the city, to the life cycle of the buildings, to the affordability of the housing. So, and the policies that we are implementing focus on these several approaches to what is a basic need, as we need to education, health, and housing, of course, because no one lives properly without a house. So this is the approach that we have in every programs and global policy for housing. It's this approach to integrated sustainability has to the construction and to the use of housing and habitat, and the city has a connection in all scales of approach since the project, and we are all architects here, so we have, isn't it? We are all architects, so we also have this approach to the quality of the built environment, and the quality, it's also a matter of being the adequate project to the needs of everyone. So for me, being the adequate project to the life of everyone, it's the sustainable approach to the project and to the housing issue. So not with one specific project of one specific city, but this approach of adequacy of the houses to the needs of the people everywhere.
So Susana began by talking about part of the institutional framing of policies, which was essentially financially. Well, it seems that implementation of policies is a challenge much more big than the design of policies. In this issue, I would like and this is an open, I'm not going to, because we do not have so much time. I think we have more 15 minutes, and then passing please give me some indications. So I would ask for some of you, which do you think are the most important factors to a well-succeeded implementation of planning or housing policies? And I would like to talk or to focus on a special one, has to do with time and long-term thinking of implementation of policies, which is a special challenge when we face political instability as in Europe we are facing. So how can we lead, how can we deal, not lead, how can you deal with the political alternation, which is a good thing in democracy and specificity of democracy, with sustainable implementation of policies in the long term. I don't know if someone want to.
Well, there is different. We have to consider there are different lengths. So there is different rhythm and there is different pace. I mean, when we talk about the implementation of a long-term vision and when we talk about urban regeneration projects that can last 5, 10, 15 years, we need continuity. We need a certain level of continuity. And we also need a certain level of adaptation, because there is nothing that we will conceive nowadays that will be good in 15 years. We just have to change completely our mindset. We've been taught that architects can forecast the future. It's not true. Okay, we cannot do that. Nobody can do that. We can try to get closer to a better future that we imagine in 15 years, but for sure that would be not the right one. So we need flexibility. On the other way around, as I was telling before, we need to consider also short-term change. We have to consider how we can, in urban regeneration projects, start with some temporary intervention, and particularly in public space. Public space can be transformed immediately with almost immediately with no great efforts. But it's a matter of will. It's a matter of political will. What we learned through our tactical urbanism program is that if we want to close a street to traffic and open it to people, we can do it tomorrow. And by doing it once, we open the imagination of many other in the city that started asking to have that kind of change. Please pedestrianize the space in front of a school. Please pedestrianize the plaza in my neighborhood. And by realizing that you can act with a short-term change and short-term but big impact transformations, you're really changing completely the mindset of the people asking for change. Because in the long-term visions, nobody get involved. I mean, when you try to facilitate participation and engagement on a long-term vision, it's really boring for people that cannot really touch anything or cannot be affected by anything. And the same when you're talking about urban regeneration program, let's say a railway yard that you want to transform. Yes, some people in the neighborhood will come, but still it's more like trying to realize that they're not that affected. But when you discuss about changing the street in front of your house tomorrow, that generates discussion and the debate about the future that you want to have. So I think we have to mix the different scales but start considering also every time that you are approaching a transformation, a vision, a regeneration project, trying to understand what can happen tomorrow. Because that builds continuity in time. And I think, and then Janet can say better than me this, when they started with the superilla and when they generated all those superillas, can you imagine someone coming after them, transforming and erasing all the transformation and erasing the changes that they did?
You cannot imagine in that case, but for instance, in the case of housing policies, you can imagine an erasure of the complete political, or I think even in a city, we can see in a city, if the previous government has a plan. I don't know. I'm just fitting we have 10 minutes, I think, to finish. I don't know. One. Okay. I don't see you. Sorry.
No.
So to address, yeah.
Now?
10 minutes.
Now?
No,
In
10 minutes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So you wanted to say something, and also Janet, Susana, and then...
Nowadays, because we have made a huge transformation in the past. We have designed a new general plan that began in 2009, and we have approved it last year. So 13 years designing the new plan, general plan for the next 20 years. This is our reality, no? So the flexibility is very difficult. And this plan includes, now that we are solved economic problems of the 80s, this plan includes climate change adaptation, gender, and the vision of this 21st century. But in the 19th, there were, the example is the Guggenheim Museum, for example. In the 19th, there was no citizen participation at all by law. So we always remember the Guggenheim Museum because it was a risky political commitment, and the National Party, the Basque National Party, that was in the government at that time, went ahead. All the rest of the political parties, the cultural sector. I remember the ex-sculptor Oteiza complaining about the Guggenheim Museum, and with the opposition of many citizens. So the question is, probably if we had implemented a citizen participation process at that time, for sure we would not have built the Guggenheim Museum. So the question is what to do, what people want, what people need, or what people we think need. Now the Basque land law requires citizen participation processes in town planning. So in our plan, in our general plan, we have implemented these processes, which is very difficult because it's a challenge itself. The process is very complex because you have many people, many topics, few time. So the nature of a general plan also is the strategy of the city or of the metropolitan area. So people usually, the neighbors, usually think about the streets, the gardens, or the concrete questions that affect them, no? But not about the strategy.
Yes. And I have 2 or 3 minutes for each of them, but this is a very important issue because sometimes we take participation as an uncritical process, but on the other side, sometimes it is criticized by 2 aspects. One is where expertness stays, and sometimes, or the majority of times, participation does not involve the lower classes, but just the most educated people. So it's a sort of a reproduction of the status quo, or the most. Well, I'm being a bit provocative, just to, and I give you Janet and Filipa 2 or 3 minutes just to talk a bit about these problems or challenges.
I try to explain quickly, but I agree with my colleagues about this is the most important thing, no, for politics and for people who works inside the city council or the metropolitan area, no, because for one hand you have, for example, not the concretely and the policies to do today or tomorrow, but for other hand, you have, for example, the urban planning for the next 20 or 30 years, no? And it's difficult to explain to people. No, okay, today we agree the next 20 or 30 days, because people say, when? when maybe we can do realize, no? And for me, the most important thing, it's the people, no? The residents. I think so, it's the key, because the only way for policies to continue is that people defend them. I think so, no? Because, for example, in Barcelona, we saw it, no? Super blocks, let's protect the schools, and when I was deputy mayor, no, for example, in these past years of big transformation, the relationship with citizens, with residents, was very important, no. And while we advance in transformations, associations and groups of residents ask for more. They say, we want more bike lanes. We want more pedestrianization. And this is, for me, was the strength and power, no? Because, okay, I say, I have a lot of medias and economicals, no, lobbies against these policies, but I have people. I have residents, and I want to, go far and to do, no? And for example, I think we have an example very important. It's like the bike bus. Maybe you listen about it, no? Because other cities in the world copy this example of Barcelona, no? And I think it's very important because the bike bus started because some parents, no, of schools agreed to go by bike to school on Fridays. Every Fridays, parents with kids go by bus to school, no? And they asked to the city council, for example, if local police could go with them. And first of all, local police say no. Why? No? Never do it before, no? Yeah. Yeah. But it wasn't easy to convince them, but now it has expanded, and 10 schools in the center of the city have bike bus every Friday. For me, this is a victory. Yes.
I'll give the word to the participants. Filipa.
In the case of National Institute, we have this very much relations with the institutions, and we are not so close to people as the municipalities. But one of the it is very important, of course, that some policies and the policies have some continuity. That's the common ground. But then, how to make it happen, try to guarantee some of this continuity. And what we are working on is to establish some partnerships with the several levels of decision to the citizens. So we are the National Institute, but we are establishing partnerships with the municipalities and with the association of residents, so with the people of the neighborhoods. And if people are engaged to the policies, and if the municipalities on one hand, and then people themselves, the residents, are engaged with some movement or some program, then they will ask for more, and they will react when something is stopped or with the intention of being closed or somehow. So we have to let people be engaged and give them the floor to have some strength and demand for what they need. And some policies may guarantee their continuity, I believe, with these movements that people demand for if they feel the need, of course. So if they don't feel the need, that's because the policy is not adequate. So that's okay.
And now I'll give you. But in this equation, we have policy parties, which are a very important player, and the players of the sector, like real estate developers and, several others that maybe do not have such a, this is, so I'll open the questions. Does anybody has some questions or doubts?
I wanted to ask through cooperative house development when we asked, answering the questions about I know in Barcelona it's a big thing. Tilburg's house.
Yeah.
It's historical cooperative movement just after our democratic revolution in '74. So, but it's a paradigmatic movement on cooperative. We had that period in history. Then we had the cooperatives that built a great number of units of houses in the 80s and the 90s that were then privatized, so they were sold to each one of the cooperants and then entered the market, and they are now in the free market as any other house. And we just started with this last package of legislation promoting with the Barcelona model the cooperative movement of collective property. So we are just starting that and implementing and pushing the cooperative movement of everywhere. So, and the model is to give or allow public space, public terrains or buildings in a right of use for 19 years and give the cooperative of collective property to build or to refurbish the building and have the right of use. So we are just starting that moment, and we have the cooperation many times of Laborde calling about their and telling us, and everyone, we have public sessions with the examples of Laborde and others to explain the model and debating how are we going to implement it. We are just starting, and I hope that next year we have news. So.
Because the urban planning don't recognize this type of housing. But first of all, we changed the urban planning. And now we have 10 communities that implemented this model in public space, because this is the agreement to do it. And was amazing because we have a very, very beautiful experience, for communities, for neighborhoods, for neighbors, for everyone, to change the model of housing and the relation between people who lives inside of these buildings, the materials, everything changed with these projects. But now the new government of Barcelona, for example, stop it, yeah, because it's a problem. But I think so, the fight, it's very important.
Any questions? Any? No?
I have one simple question. That is, here, as you know, here in Lisbon and in Porto, special, we have a big problem, issue that is a lot to do with governance, architecture, and sustainability about the politics is the tourism. And how I want to, if it's possible, to see how Barcelona, Bilbao, and Milan deals with this problem in the matter of the governance.
Yes. I think the most important problem that we have in general in Barcelona, because for me it's capitalism, and then this tourism, because change everything in the city, change the quality of life of residents, the housing, the prices of housing, the commerce, everything is changed. And we try to control. In the last 8 years, we try to do implement different plans. The first ambitious plans, I think so, in Europe, no, because we stopped the buildings about different hotels, for example, luxury hotels. I was in the court to stop, 2 times, to stop different projects of hotels in the center of Barcelona. And was difficult because we have against all lobbies, and they are powerful, no? And they have, for example, the medias. And all time it say, you stop the economic issues for people, for your fault, people don't have work, and because they accepted precarious jobs, for example. And we have a lot of fight, a very important fight with, for example, Airbnb, the platform Airbnb with houses, and we forgiven, for example, every tourist flats, tourist housing, and we say we don't want more tourist flats in Barcelona, and it's very hard because we need, in general, European regulation, and this is that now we try to do, because we need all cities in the same, have the same problem, and we need a common law to say to these big companies or international companies that our cities are for live, are for live, no for to do speculation.
Do you have something to say?
Well, I think that in Milan we are a bit ahead in terms that we were not a touristic city up to 10 years ago. Not at all. We're really the only Italian city not being that touristic or just professional tourism. But then we had the Expo in 2015, and we changed, and we started increasing and increasing and increasing. And the result is that basically we are starting living the same issues than other cities that are, as Barcelona and probably also here. Housing shortage, clearly. We have 20,000 flats on Airbnb, and we have 60,000 public housing. So imagine, in terms of number, it's a huge number of flats that are rented on the platform. And it's just not Airbnb. There are also, of course, all the other attractivity coming from the hotel, etc. We are going to open our eyes in the next years and probably start changing the approach, not welcoming that much anymore, but trying to be a bit less attractive. But we are still, I think, coming towards the peak, because I think also probably Barcelona was experiencing this 15 years ago. We're coming closer and to that peak in order to then probably try to change the model. I'm not sure that tourism is not related to capitalism, but I'm not. We'll see that in another discussion. How to do it? We don't have the tools, because it's, for instance, Milan is now asking to the national government, which is another political color, to provide a special law in order to make possible to the city to stop or to limit the touristic attractivity. The national government is saying no, probably also because of the different colors. And no, now we are in a moment where basically we are living the issue but not really facing solution, which I don't know what is. I'm not sure that we have a solution, and probably we have to consider better how tourism and gentrification has to be approached and solved. And even the critical voices, I think they're not getting 100% the point about what we should do. So it's probably another debate that we're gonna.
I don't know, Susana. The Bilbao effect is the
Yes.
most.
We
the
had no
best example.
tourism in the 80s, neither in the 80s nor in the 90s. We had 2 hotels or something like that. And for us today, the tourism is not a problem. Maybe it is a concern for the future, but it's not still a problem. It's not yet a problem yet. I mean, The truth is that we have some petitions of licenses each week to open a hotel or a tourist flat, but people don't come to Bilbao to see Bilbao only. They go to Bilbao and then go to San Sebastian and then go to La Rioja to see the warehouse, the wine warehouses. So, and our tourism is related to congresses and those things. So it's not a problem by now, but in the general plan, in the new general plan, we have tourism flats are forbidden, and you can only put one in the first floor of the buildings in the whole city. And that's the only thing we have done.
You didn't have an increase of price of housing prices?
Yes, yes, but it's good for the city because the tourism was zero in the past. So a little amount of tourism, a little GDP with tourism is good. But yes, that's it.
Yeah.
It's compensated in our city. It's not a problem. Maybe in the future, in the next 20 years, can be a problem, but not now.
Yes, now in Barcelona, 35 million per year.
Yes.
It's unbalanced, so
Yes.
everything is different.
We have 4 million flights in the airport per year, so 4 million flights. It's not.
I just wanted to add that probably cities cannot face this alone. So not only national government, probably also European government should do something particularly related to the platforms. Just to give you a number and an example of what that was happening in Italy, our finance police realized that Airbnb didn't pay 700 million of taxes in the last 4 years. 700 millions of taxes.
Mm-hmm. This is the way of cities being competitive. So, I mean.
Yeah, but probably those actors are too big for a single city to be faced.
Yeah.
And Milan and Barcelona, maybe, or Lisbon, maybe they can even face it. But what about small cities? What about? So probably we need to come together with common rules in order to face these kind of things.
Yes.
Of course. Any more questions? Like, I don't know if.
But you said that.
Oh, I didn't understand.
Yes,
I
didn't
didn't
pay.
understand. Well, I didn't.
Because they were resident in
Yes, but this is the competitor in the other
Ireland,
cities.
in Ireland,
Yeah.
for example, then they don't pay nothing in our
Or-
cities.
They didn't have to pay something,
Yeah.
and then after years, the finance police said, no, you have to pay, and now they are.
That's a question
Fighting
of
about
European
600.
regulation of taxation.
But we're talking about
Yeah.
600 million.
Taxation rules too.
But also,
Yeah,
but essentially,
everything,
because
everything.
in Lisbon, absolutely. Any question?
Hi. Talking about sustainability and cities, what about climate change? How do Bilbao, Milan, and Barcelona, being Mediterranean cities, how do you address for example, the high temperatures that we are having in summer due to the climate change?
Our main goal is floods, okay, not heat waves. And we have been involved in some European projects, Ramses and Resin, and those projects have allowed us to analyze the city, the risk with some impact chains, and as we have the measure of the risk in all parts of the city, we have introduced some requirements in the general plan for the future developments of these areas to design climate change adaptation measures in these small plans. And one of the things we are doing, we have a water authority URA is the name of this water authority, that requires us to build when an area is floodable, we must increase the level of the area, and we must design nature-based solutions around the area to be flooded, and that is how we are doing.
Yeah. I want to explain, for example, in Barcelona this summer, we can compare it between 20th century streets and super block streets, no? And the difference, it's like 8, 9 more degrees of heat in 20th century streets from super blocks. And this is, for example, two things I think very important in the streets. Greenery, no, I think is the most important thing, but we achieve the innovative system with water, no, because we want to anticipate the lack of water we will have in the near future, but today we have a very big problem with water, and we have created a sustainable urban drainage and systems, no? And this system works for retention, treatment, and localized drainage of rainwater to water plants or for direct use without the need for energy consumption or large infrastructures, no? And this is, for me, two ways very important to change the heat in the public space, no?
Yeah, and if I can add, streets is the problem and the solution. There is no other things. I mean, streets, because streets is the most important part of public space that we have in our cities. It's more than 50% of every city, more or less. And can you imagine in 2023 we still build streets and sidewalk in asphalt? That's something that's like, I mean, we do many stupid things, but that's one of the most incredible stupid things that we do. And we have to change completely that approach. We have to change that material. We have to change materials. We have to include green. We have to transform the use and the concept behind streets. If streets can move, instead of moving cars, could move people, and can be conceived as infrastructure for green infrastructure and to renature the city, natural infrastructure, we would probably face that challenge. Otherwise, I mean, we're just like continuously repeating the same issues, and as David Bowie says, always crashing in the same cars, which is probably also a good metaphor, because cars are the issue in order to be able to renature the city in a way that can be effective. We have to reduce dramatically the amount of cars.
So I think we are going to finish. There's no more questions. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And thank you very much to have